Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. So in today's video, I want to go over Demon Slayer and kind of give you guys my thoughts and opinions on this class as a bossy mule and kind of let you guys know if I think that you should make one or not, if you shouldn't make one, some pros, some cons, and kind of everything that I've learned while playing this class. So first things first, to kind of get into the video here, is Demon Slayer is a very good boss mule. I definitely would put this and rank this as at least one of the top 5, possibly even top 3 or top 2, just underneath Bowmaster as a boss mule. So the reason why I think that Demon Slayer is such a good bossy mule is because of the damage output it puts out and that it has such a low amount of time actually off burst. One of its main burst skills, Demon Awakening, is pretty much a 64-second burst with a 2-minute cooldown, so you're almost always bursting while you're playing this class. Obviously, its main attack, or its main burst skill, Demon Bane, is a 4-minute cooldown, but definitely doesn't contribute all of its damage as a boss mule. You're definitely doing very consistent damage just using Demon Awakening, and the off burst skill Demon Impact has very good damage as well. Some things that I wanted to touch on are some pros and cons with this class and kind of why I think that it's such a good boss mule. So obviously the damage output on Demon Slayer is very good, but on top of that, it also does have potentially 3 iframes, one of them being your burst skill Demon Bane. So I don't really want to count that too much as an iframe, even though technically yes it is, but it's a 4-minute cooldown, so it's not really going to be super useful in many situations. But it does have 2 other iframes with a cooldown of 30 seconds and 90 seconds. So those are very useful. The less amount of times you die, the less amount of buff freezers that you have to spend, and the more amount of money that you bring in every single week. So on top of the iframes and high damage output that Demon Slayer has, it also does have its own self bind that's actually pretty decent. It's not the best, but it's definitely better than nothing, so you don't have to spend a node slot on having a bind or worry about that, which is always super nice when creating a boss mule. The less node slots that you need to take up for decent skills and binds, the better, the more that you can put in for damage output nodes. So one thing also to note is that Demon Slayer is very good, but it's only very good if you are using a green pot and decent speed infusion. So if you're not using speed infusion and you're not using a green pot, this class actually feels really bad, and the damage drop off is actually very exponential. I don't actually know the amount of final damage that you lose without having a decent SI and a green pot on, but it's definitely probably anywhere from 30 to 50% final damage lost without having these. Don't quote me on those numbers, I have no idea, but that's at least what it feels like. And it also feels just like extremely clunky if you're not using those 2 attack speed buffs. So that is one thing to keep in mind. I know there are rumors of the attack speed being nerfed in GMS, so if that does happen, Demon Slayer as a boss mule definitely won't be as good. It'll still be good, but not nearly as good as it is right now. So that is one thing to keep in mind moving into the future. But for right now, in this current time, Demon Slayer is very good. One thing that I realized while bossing on the Demon Slayer is that you have to make sure that you're using Demon Cry every 20 to 25 seconds on the boss to make sure that you're debuffing it. And this debuff gives you minus 15% IED, which is really nice. Demon Slayer has a ton of IED and crit rate built into it. Obviously, as you guys can see right now, I'm doing 100% crit rate. And that's because a lot of Demon Slayer's attacks already have a ton of crit rate built into them. So like for example, Demon Slayer's main attack, Demon Impact, already comes with 100% crit rate, 30% IED, and 40% boss damage. So that's another really good thing about Demon Slayer, is that you don't have to worry about IED so much, and you don't have to worry about crit rate like literally at all. So you can focus on upgrading other things like your percent attack and percent boss damage, rather than making sure that you have enough IED and enough crit rate to actually do efficient damage on bosses. Now that I kind of went over a lot of the pros for Demon Slayer and a lot of the things that make it such a good boss mule, I do want to go over some of the things that I personally dislike about the class. So first things first, I'm not a huge fan of like the floating flash jump hovering kind of mechanic that Demon Slayer has. I personally turned it off and just went to like the pretty standard flash jumping mechanic that most classes use. I know most Demon Slayer mains do use the hovering skill, but for me, I personally don't like it. Another thing that I'm not a huge fan about with Demon Slayer is that It is kind of a clunkier class, and it is something that you have to get used to. Maybe that's just because I made Adele, but for me, Demon Slayer felt really clunky, especially if you weren't using a green pot in SI. Like, if you're not using SI and a green pot on this class, it's a completely different class. And the last thing that's kind of a con, there's not too many cons with Demon Slayer, by the way, guys, but I do want to list a few that I thought that were. The last thing that I didn't really like too much with Demon Slayer is that the training felt really bad. I don't like the training at all. Again, same kind of concept, felt super clunky, and it just wasn't for me. And that's all personal dislikes and likes. Some people might really enjoy Demon Slayer training. Me, I didn't. I thought it was clunky, but again, it's all personal. So just to wrap up my thoughts as a whole on Demon Slayer, I really enjoy this class and bossing on it. When I first started bossing on it, it felt really awkward and weird, and maybe that's just because I main Adele, but it did take a little bit of time to get used to, and a little bit of time of getting used to popping the iframes and timing them and how to use certain skills and when to use them. But overall, once you get this class down and you kind of get the timing down on a lot of skills, the class is extremely good, and it's very easy to play as well. Like I said, with the iframes, it's very hard to actually die on this class. Like, obviously sometimes some things are going to happen, but overall I probably would give this class about a 9, maybe an 8.5 out of 10 as a bossy mule. Like I said earlier, guys, it's a very good class. The damage output is extremely high for the amount of funding that you have. The only thing that I would say is, if you do make one, make sure that you are using a green pot and that you are using decent SI. Mine is only at level 214, and it does these bosses very quickly. I do everything very comfortably with 12k stat at 214. My nodes are maxed on this, so keep that in mind. But again, guys, overall the class is very good. So I do highly recommend making this. The only class that I think would be better than this is probably Bowmaster, or maybe there's a few other that are. But I also do want you all to keep in mind that I am definitely not a Demon Slayer main, and I know I'm definitely not optimizing damage completely, and I know there's probably a lot of other things that you can do to min-max damage on this class, but I just don't know about them personally. So if you are a Demon Slayer main or know Demon Slayer as a class very well, please leave some ideas or some things that I missed in the comments below, so if other people do make this class as a boss mule, they can bank off of some of the tips and tricks that you left in the comments, and it'll help them out overall. So I did want to just note that I know there's definitely a few things that I'm missing out, in this class probably could be better than I'm making it even seem. So just remember to keep that in mind. So that is going to wrap up the video for today, guys. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, please leave them in the comment section down below, and we'll talk about it, discuss it. But as always, I appreciate you all for tuning into the video, and until next time, I'll see you guys later. Peace.